Gunmen. So this is a Hong Kong film. It's directed by Kirk Wong, and it stars Tony Leung Ka-fai and a few others. Being very frank, I don't really watch a lot of Hong Kong films, even though I do live in Hong Kong and I was born and raised here. But I grew up mostly watching American media, so every time I do visit the Hong Kong films, I'm always very fascinated by the style, the seeing the cities, the locations that I'm familiar with, and the faces that are I see every day, like the types of faces I see every day. It's always very interesting, and the perspective, the style is also very efficient compared to other film, other industries that I've seen. So in this film, what this film is about is it's about a guy who becomes a cop after coming out of the Civil War in China. It's like taking place in the 1930s, and he has to go and catch this drug lord who kills the police captain that he's really fond of. So he's like, okay, I'm gonna take revenge on this guy, and then later on he joins his soldier buddies that he had during the Civil War. They're just doing some manual labor type of jobs. They're pulling the rickshaw back then, so it's definitely not a high paying salary. And he's like, okay, you know what? You should join me. I'll enlist you in my team as the cop. So it was very interesting. You don't really see that kind of thing happening nowadays, right? Just go in and enlist as a cop just like that, or a cop just comes in and he says, "You're a cop now. You're in my team." It, but back then, I guess this was a thing. Maybe they took liberties. I'm not sure, but it was definitely interesting to see. And the movie is about how, in the end, they go and hunt down this drug lord. So overall, this movie doesn't really have an original story. I knew that the story wasn't going to be that like original, but the way it was told, I was quite entertained overall. It was very fast paced, very fast cut as well. The scenes just keep coming and coming and coming. They make the point, whatever point is there, that they have to say in the scene. They say it and then they move to the next scene. And this is a pattern that I've seen in a lot of Hong Kong films, whether it's a comedy film or an action film. Whenever there's some kind of point that is made, they immediately move to the next scene, and it goes at a very fast pace. So I really like that style, and it makes the movie very short as well. It's usually around 90 minutes or less. So it really doesn't waste any kind of time. That is also very good for if you're watching a movie, and in other types of movies, other industries, they got 2 hours, 2.5 hour types of films, or even 3 hours. You really need to set aside that time to watch that film so that you can really take it in. But with a lot of Hong Kong films, they're only around 90 minutes, 100 minutes, 80 minutes. So you could just spend some, like, less than 2 hours. You can watch a whole film. And I really like that about Hong Kong cinema. Um, yeah, and this film, the action sequences are definitely the highlights. The way it was filmed, the style, the soundtrack. This was in the 1980s. This film that was, it's like 1988. So you got these really retro synths coming in. So it's really interesting, really cool. It doesn't it's a little anachronistic for a 1930s setting, but I think for this film, with the style they went for, the edits they went for, the way it was shot, I think it really worked well. Also, there's a lot of close-up shots. This movie uses the 185 to 1 aspect ratio instead of a Panavision. I think I really like the way the film was shot for this particular film. There's a lot of close-ups. There's a lot of Dutch angles with the way the action scenes are filmed. Yeah, it's very interesting. I like the cinematography quite a lot. It's very stagey. It's not trying to be a realistic type of film. It's very much staged. Um, the lighting is very intentional. There's some film noir lighting as well. Um, yeah, I liked it overall. Um, what else to say? I think the acting was also very good. The guy who plays the main character, Tony Lunkafai, I think he did a fantastic job all throughout. I do have some issues with his character. I don't really understand why they had to include him cheating on his wife. Like I didn't really understand why that kind of scenario and character had to be there. It sort of just felt like it was just there for the sake of it, for the sake of having two female leads. And I really felt like it could have been conveyed in another way, or at least we could have had a little more details about the characters of why they do what they do. And I think this is one of the problems with the movie. I think since the movie is very, very fast paced and very short, there's not that much of a emotion, strong emotion to be conveyed about why the characters do what they do, who these people are individually, what they're really thinking. It's all very surface level, and I think it sort of works for this type of movie because it's an action movie. It's meant to be very fast paced, and the action scenes are definitely the highlights. So I think it works, but I think it would have been much better, much more emotionally impactful, even with the action scenes that come throughout the movie, if the characters, the like these kinds of characters where they say that this guy is going to see the prostitute and the prostitute is giving the information about these drug lords where they're going. I think it could have added more depth if we knew more about these characters rather than them just being very surface level and very cookie cutter. So yeah, that's my main gripe with the movie overall. Um, and also, I heard that this movie was a Category 3 movie and it got a 18 plus rating. So, if for those who don't know, in Hong Kong we have a rating system where we got like four ratings, and the last rating is the Category 3 rating. Category 2 has two ratings, so like that's why it's the last rating. Category 3 is the one that is restricted. It has a triangle sign, and it's like only those who are 18 and older can enter. And I was really expecting this movie to have much more violence for the rating that it got. And I was really surprised to see that it's not really that violent compared to other, like, just any other film that's not Category 3. That's just a regular Hong Kong action movie. Generally, Hong Kong action movies that I've seen, the modern ones, even the old ones, they tend to be very, very intense and violent. Like they really go all the way with the combat, the the shootouts. It's very intense, very um, no bars held, balls to the walls. So in this movie, it is like that, but it's not as brutal or bloody as I thought it would be. Like there's few moments here and there where like there's a scene where this guy gets shot in the eye, and that is pretty brutal. Um, but other than that, it's just regular shootouts, people getting shot and killed, and it's like a fair amount of violence. Like you would expect that kind of violence in an action movie. So there's nothing too graphic from what I've seen. So I was really surprised that this got a category 3. But I guess it's like thing that because it's still in the early infancy of the rating system in Hong Kong, like they were just introducing these kinds of ratings that, okay, if the movie's too violent, then we're gonna give this 18 plus rating. So I guess that's why they were like, okay, let's just give this an 18 plus rating. If it gets released today, I don't think it'll get a 18 plus rating. Other than that, I think this movie is. I was surprised to learn that this movie got a lot of bad reviews. Like, not a lot of people really like this movie. Um, but overall, I personally enjoyed it. I liked it overall. I did hear that this movie was inspired by The Untouchables, directed by Brian De Palma. I'm going to be checking that one out as well and letting you guys know my thoughts. So, yeah, at least from what I've seen in this movie, this was pretty good. I'm expecting that The Untouchables is going to be better. I'm not sure. I'm going to wait and see that movie, and I'm also going to be hopefully reviewing more movies from more countries, whether it's Hong Kong films, Hollywood films, Korean films. Like, I do want to review some films like Old Boy, Parasite, Memories of Murder, Handmaiden, all those types of films that I've seen. I want to review it, but we'll get to that. So, if you like this review, please do like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next review. Thank you.